Well, one musical scene. Huh. Alright, let's rock. Guilty Gear Strive has one of the best soundtracks in gaming. Every character song is so carefully crafted to fit their character between genre, lyrics, and tempo. You'll get the theme like Drift, which starts out jazzy before devolving into a seemingly random melody symbolizing Happy Chaos's loss of sanity, before ending in a triumphant chorus as the lyrics start to talk about his motivations.
It took me 10 years to find the answer, something I forgot about it in 2 seconds. That's about it.
You might get a theme like The Town Inside Me, which is very childlike and funky, but the lyrics are actually pretty sad, paralleling Bridget's arc in Strive with hiding her true identity and not wanting to run away from who she is. But those aren't scenes. Where on earth am I going to pull a scene from a fighting game of all things to talk about? Well, the answer to that lies in the 5-hour anime movie they packaged with the game. Honestly, the biggest disappointment of this story to me was the lack of these great character themes. Some of the best music in gaming, and it barely gets used in the story. Barely. Here was the time that it was used.
So I thought I'd do what you recommended and get one last look at his face.
I won't let it be the last.
Ino has already become all-powerful.
Only all-powerful?
Frederick.
The story to this game was a chaotic ride, as the White House gets hijacked and turned into a flying fortress by a nigh omnipotent being who wants to turn a rock and roll witch into another nigh omnipotent being, just because he's bored. And so, Soul Bad Guy, Jacko Valentine, Kai Keith, and, that man have to work to stop this. Spoilers, they don't. But let's move on from that and talk about one of those people in particular, Kai Keith. Kai started out as the basic fighting game rival, the Ken, the Jin, the character that foils the protagonist. While Soul Bad Guy starts as the typical anti-hero. Bad Guy is literally his name, after all. Kai is a much more traditional hero. He's Christian, he's idealistic, honorable. But recently, Kai's been taking a bit from Soul. He's disobeyed authority, he's worked underground, as long as he thought it was for the greater good. One thing that always stayed with him, though, was his faith. He remained devoutly religious, even as he molded into being a more rebellious person. Cut back to the end of Strive. Happy Chaos has won. Ino is now a god, and Soul's helpless to stop it. Ino grows to a massive size, with unlimited power to do as she pleases in the world. In the face of that unlimited power, people can't help but be moved to tears. Even the toughest characters. Even Zato cries. He's blind. Pure power gets the best of him. All hope seems lost. There are only 2 people left, Jacko and Kai. The Name of Heaven starts to play. This song is the one that plays during the credits of arcade mode, and it's also, in my opinion, one of the game's best themes. But although it's really good, it always confused me why it was chosen as the game's arcade mode ending. Guilty Gear's arcade mode doesn't have much of a story, there's just a little bit of individual dialogue between each character. But then, at the end, it cuts to this weirdly religious, weirdly somber yet optimistic song. it never really made much sense to me until I watched the game's story. And this song is such a genius inclusion to this scene. The song seems pretty upbeat when you first listen to it, so at first it might seem like an odd choice to accompany such a dire situation. But remember that this is the song that plays at the end of arcade mode, after you have won. But in this case, you haven't won, you lost. The one who has won is Eno. Despite being a triumphant theme, it paints the depravity of the situation spectacularly well by reversing the scenario. Before going into the 5-hour story mode, you've more than likely experimented with a fighting game and no doubt completed arcade mode by now. So you know as soon as you hear the theme that there is a victory. But if it's not your victory, whose victory is it? Besides this scenario, the lyrics seem to line up pretty well with Eno becoming God. Do you think my broken wings will heal signifies how Eno lost her power and looks to reclaim it. Freedom is in my hands means that I cannot get lost is another good lyric. Eno's become nihilistic, seeing the world as meaning nothing, just like Happy Chaos does. Now, with unlimited power, she has a purpose: remake the world and make it better than before. Not to mention how the song constantly alludes to God, heaven, wings, perfect for her new status as goddess of the multiverse. But isn't there another character who has deep connection to God and heaven? Oh right, Kais. Kais, the one character who manages to stand up to Eno. While some lyrics in the song may refer to Eno, others seem to allude to Kais. I don't hesitate, just be guided. It's perfect for him. Kai leaves Jacko with Soul and, with no hesitation, goes off to fight Eno on his own. He's willing to sacrifice himself for others, to buy her time, and give Jacko time to be with Soul. Kai doesn't hesitate, and lets his faith guide him. There's also, all right, well, I'm sure I'll be there soon. All I have to do is walk. Kai is walking straight toward Eno, straight toward that same power that made all those other people cry. All those lines, which could be interpreted as Eno ascending to godhood, can also be interpreted as Kai relying on his faith and desire to do good and stand up to overwhelming odds. He doesn't even cry when looking at her. And while we don't get a canon explanation for it, I think it's because he sees her as a false god. His own faith is more powerful than omnipotence. Even without all this extra meaning, it's just a really good song. The triumphant theme, as all seems lost, is also just so perfect from a cinematics perspective. I love it when movies or TV shows can pair music that doesn't quite fit the scene, but also just works so well, like the Come a Little Bit Closer scene from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I think this scene in particular works so geniusly because it is simultaneously cool, unsettling, and optimistic. It manages to set the stakes for the coming conflict and inspire some hope that our heroes might pull through at the same time. It's the end, but it's also the beginning. It's about the villain, but it's also about the hero. And you can get all these different interpretations from multiple different watchings of that scene. And then once you can put all the pieces together, realize that it's about all of them at once. Seeing Eno ascend to godhood, all these characters you've gotten to know throughout the whole series moved to tears, but Kai continues to press on. This might be tough, but you have to have the faith that the characters that you love can pull through.